Hey Orifit, thank you so much for checking out this video. I want to share with you how I lost 40 pounds or 10 kilograms in about 3 months. So I'm going to kind of start at the beginning. When I was in my early 20s, I was quite into fitness. Came out of school, 19, and I wanted to become bigger. I was always a skinny kid and I wanted to become a little bigger. So I decided to get into the gym. I had a good mate who pulled me in there. So we started going to the gym, and in no time I really started to see some good progress, and I was quite excited about this progress. I then ended up having a really good physique by early 20s, 20, 21, 22, around there. When I got to kind of my mid-20s, I started, I wouldn't say losing the drive, but my focus changed. My focus changed a lot. I started my own business, and all I cared about was making that run, making that work, making that successful. And then my focus completely shifted from actually staying in shape. I did not know what a gym was at that time, and at the same time I was trying to save as much money as I could just to be able to survive and see the business thrive for a bit longer. So fast forward a little further to 2019. I had made a reasonably successful career for myself, and I was asked to go and open up a branch of the business in Dubai, which is really, really cool. So we took that opportunity. My wife and I went there in June of 2019, and what happened then was my focus once again diverted. All I thought about 24/7 was building this business, making sure that we're successful, that this works out for us, not only as a couple, but also as, as a business. We wanted to make sure that we have money in the bank and can create an incredible lifestyle, especially having come from South Africa. Very few people get the opportunity to go and do something great with their lives like that out of here. So I did whatever I could to make sure that we were making progress, and in doing so, I learned that first world countries have a lot of perks. Number one, takeaways. They deliver it to your door. And when I say to your door, we stay in an incredible apartment building in Dubai, and basically they literally come to your apartment door, ring the bell, deliver your food, and you have hundreds of options, and it's just way easier than cooking. So I did that for a fair amount of time, and what happened was I wouldn't even say gradually, in 6 months time, give or take a few months, I put on 10, 12, 13 kilograms, coming from being skinny to being fat, like in no time. There was no kind of in between. It kind of just escalated over time, and in December, I felt like we were starting to get the business under control, and I thought, you know what, I need to get my body in shape now. Like, I've never been a guy that liked being out of shape for any amount of time. I've always been, to a degree, an athlete. I've always been very physically active. I've always done something physical, except in those few periods I mentioned. And so what I then decided to do was, in December of 2019, I weighed 101 kilograms. And I said, I'm not going to do that. So I decided, you know what, while I can do this, I'm going to get strict. I'm going to lose a bunch of weight. And I had a goal in mind, and I actually hit exactly that goal. But I just wrote the goal down as something to think about. And I guess that's kind of how goals work, right? You write it down, something to think about. You'll eventually get there if you keep on the right path. So what I decided to do was I wanted to hit 90 kilograms. And I was on a really good trajectory, but at the same time I needed radical change. So I couldn't just say I'm going to eat healthy once in a while, or I'm going to try a caloric deficit. It just didn't work for me, especially at the point where my lifestyle had gone. I was still working from the house a lot in Dubai. So what happened was that every single day I was ordering takeaways, and a medium McDonald's meal started becoming a large McDonald's meal, started becoming a large McDonald's meal, and an extra cheeseburger and an extra fries. And so I needed to get out of that immediately. One stop and done. And then also in Dubai, whenever you're going out with colleagues, with new friends, it's always around drinking. It doesn't have to be, of course, but that's kind of how we did it. So Thursdays and Fridays were made up of a bit of drinking, and every single day I was eating 5,000-6,000 calories. So it was impossible that I was not going to put on weight, especially for my size. So I'm 6'1", and at the moment just about 89, 90 kilograms, which is about 190, 200 pounds. Now, in 3 months, I managed to lose 11 kilograms, and I'll tell you exactly how I did. Number one is I had a caloric deficit immediately. So I've told you a bit about the story. I couldn't just kind of manage my food. I went onto a program. I know from previous experience in the gym and working out and so on, I was a complete newbie with this. So I kind of had a bit of a background in it, but I also knew that I needed to learn more. What I knew at the time wasn't going to get me to where I wanted to be. So what I had to do was I had to figure out what that caloric deficit was, create a program, and stick to that program. I wasn't disciplined enough at the time to try and make healthy food choices, as they call it. I needed a program that suited my taste buds, number one, and that I could follow, and that was easy to prep on a week's basis, right? Because I think a lot of the challenge with actual meal prep and actually staying on a diet is not, the eating, it's the prepping of the meals. If all your food was ready for you at all times, and you knew that I just have to eat what I have in front of me and I'll achieve my goals, 90% of people dieting would achieve their goals, and that's just not the case. It's the work that goes into it ahead of time to actually pull you back and make sure that you're doing that. So what I then had to do was the following. So I had to get into a caloric deficit. I was eating about, like I said, 6,000 calories at the time, a day at the time, and I had to pull that back. So I went straight down to 2,500-ish calories. It was about 2,600 calories, is what my daily uptake added up to on a general week, okay? And that consisted of about 5 or 6 meals on the day, depending on what I felt like and how I was moving it around. So I did really cool things, like I had, for instance, I had 3 options for breakfast. For breakfast, I could have toast, avocado, as well as 2 poached eggs with some cottage cheese, or I could have oats and eggs, or I could have protein brownies, or I could just have a protein shake. But then that would affect what my next meal was. So I would always try and prep 2 or 3 of my daily meals in advance on a Sunday. So for the rest of the week, I would know exactly what meals I was going to have. And what also really helped with that is a high water intake. So because I was used to eating a lot at that time, like takeout, I was eating twice a day, some days, which is shocking, and drinking 4 nights a week. I was used to keeping my stomach really, really full. So I started then drinking a lot more water. So I had a commitment to drinking 1 gallon of water a day, 3 liters, if you're trying to keep track that way. So the second point was being consistent with my daily workouts. Now, before I even left Dubai, I made a choice because of the drinking and stuff. I made a choice that in the afternoons I would go to the gym, so that I'd be exhausted by the time I'm done with the gym, and I'd go home and grab a shower, grab something to eat, go to bed. And I kind of carried this habit on in Dubai, not in the first 6 months, but in this last 3 months. And what then started to happen was I would get up every single day. I would have to do 2 trainings. Now, do I recommend this for everybody? No, but it worked for me. So I think a lot about dieting and weight loss and building muscle and all that strategy is very, very personal. And that's why you shouldn't go it alone. You should definitely be speaking to someone that knows a little bit more than you. Please reach out to me if I could help you with that. Send me a message. I'm on a mission at the moment to be able to help people out, especially with the weight loss journey. It's not that confusing. There's a few elements to it, but if you stick to it, it will give you the results. So for me, I needed to train twice a day. Why? First training in the morning was to kind of get focused for the day. So I knew I had to focus on that training. If I had a successful training, I knew my day would go really well, okay? Why did I have to have a training at night? Training at night was because I had committed to not eating bad stuff thereafter. So I knew I could, if I was going to the gym at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. I couldn't go out with a client and have something to drink, for instance. I couldn't go out and have something bad to eat because I knew I was training at that time. So it restricted me a lot in terms of sort of work-life sort of balance. But at the same time, it made me have to get creative because I had to change my lifestyle. I wasn't just going to carry on consuming a lot of alcohol and eating just whatever came to mind. I wanted to take control of my body, and I've done that now in a really, really successful way. Number 3 was that I needed to see what was working, what wasn't working. So like I said, that real strict sort of process really worked for me. It got me disciplined. It got me really into it as well, because I felt, so the kind of 3 months that I was really busy with this, there was a string of 50 days, 49 days, that was, I didn't miss a single workout. So I did 2 workouts a day. I had every single meal every single day, and I had my gallon of water, my 3 liters of water every single day for 49 days straight. So that creates a kind of discipline in your mind that on the 50th day, I didn't exercise and I felt lost. I felt like I wasn't doing what aligns with me, what is right for me, for what I want to achieve. And it just didn't feel right. It felt awkward. It felt like I wasn't doing what I do. And I'm sure you can kind of relate to that. So it created that sort of sense in me that I know me, I want to be active, I want to be doing things, I want to be taking care of my body. So I really had to go and I really had to explore that. So it kept me training. So now we're in, what's the date? May, I think it is the 8th of May. And I'm still training and I'm getting into better shape as we go along. But this is kind of what I wanted to get to next, because it's all good to say you lost 10 kilograms or 40 pounds in 3 months. But what happens then? What happens then? So we had to come back to South Africa. We had a bit of a family emergency, and now with all quarantine, and in South Africa it's a real lockdown, not like in the States where people think they lock down but are doing everything the same. Like some people in the States really complain about nothing. In South Africa it's a serious lockdown. You can't walk on the street. So we can't go back home. So we've had a lot of things that we've had to adjust. I've had to be creative. I've had to think about how am I going to stay in shape, number 1. And number 2, how am I going to make sure that my shape still gets better? Because in saying that, I don't want to really lose weight. I don't want to become any skinnier. In the fact that I've still got fat to lose. There's no question about that. But I don't want to be 70 kilograms. I'll look ridiculous. I'm 6'1". I'm crazy. I'm a kind of tall dude. It would look really silly if I was that sort of weight. So I want to stay at about 89, 90 right now. And I want to get less and less fat and more muscle. And that's what I've been able to do over the last 2 months. April, May, 2 months, which has been great. I've been very, very happy about that. And I'm very stoked that it's been working. And how have I been doing that? I've had a 500 calorie deficit a day. Now, a caloric deficit is achieved when you take your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, which you can work out on there's a BMR calculator. I'll put it into the description below and you can just use that. So you take your BMR plus whatever you expend during the day. So your basal metabolic rate is if you're a total potato and you do nothing for the day, that's how many calories you'll burn, okay? Then you take your exercise you're going to do anyway, and you kind of add that on. So for a guy my size, my caloric intake at the moment is about 2,500 calories still. It's 2,459. And I'm working out, and I'm doing about 500 odd calories burned a day. So in all theory, I should be keeping my weight, but at the same time, the calories that I'm taking in are high protein, and I'm taking in just good macros. So I'm trying to keep my fat to about a 20%. Carbs I'm keeping to about a 40% because that really keeps me, makes my workouts easier. And then protein, I want to get real swole. So I want to get jacked. I want to build more muscle. So my point being is that even though everything has changed, I'm training once a day and sometimes not training. I'm training once a day. Just eating according to a caloric deficit. So if you want a bit more information on that, please drop me a message. And number 3 is that I'm just going about life as per the sort of normal. I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm not trying to lose any more weight. The scale is really great if you're trying to lose just fat and you're on a high sort of cardio workout routine, because with cardio you do sweat, you will lose a lot of water weight and you'll burn a lot of fat. Very unlikely that you're going to build a lot of muscle doing cardio. But if you're doing weights and you're doing cardio, you could stay at the same weight for a long time and you could look consecutively better because you're building more muscle and you're losing more fat. So I just want to share that with you. I hope it answered a few questions and I really hope it can motivate you. I'm nothing special. I don't have any special genes. I'm genuinely just a normal person. When I started, not even in December, I also was just hoping that I could do this and that I could achieve this, and I just stuck to it every single day. I didn't look at the scale very often. I must admit, I stuck to it until I understood what could change and how it would affect me. So honestly, if I can do it, you can do it. Every single person says that, but it's really just the sort of the grit and endurance to do that consistently every single day. So if you really like this video and you enjoyed this content, please leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel. I'm going to put up a lot more cool content. And I'm really going to be driven towards weight loss for now. I want to help people lose a bit of weight. It's really hard if you don't know what you're talking about. It's hard if you don't have the right information. And you can get so lost in the plethora of information you can get out there. And it's really quite simple. And I'd love to simplify it for every single person.